Hi, I'm Andre Correa, and I've been a certified personal trainer for over 25 years. Boy, oh boy, where does the time go? So like most sane individuals, I asked ChatGPT to ask me questions about my time as a personal trainer. So in this video, I'm going to answer why do people sign up with a personal trainer and then resist the training? Who was the hardest client I ever had and why? And what was my biggest failure as a trainer? So as you can tell, this is going to be a lot of fun for me. But before we get started, if you like fitness content and you want to learn more about how to be efficient with your training programs and learn a little bit more about nutrition, then hit the subscribe button right here. That's going to help us grow, and also leave comments below and let us know what you want me to cover next. Without any further ado, let's go into the interrogation session.
Why do people sign up with a trainer and then resist the training?
You know, people do it, I think, because people think that if they sign up with the trainer, then I checked on that little box and now I'm good, right? And then I don't have to do the work anymore because I have a trainer. They're going to tell everybody they have a trainer. But they're not going to actually do the work, you know? So, and there are people out there that are like that, you know, they want to tell everybody they have a trainer, you know, maybe they want to come to chit chat, and because they're paying, they think the weight's going to magically disappear. You know, you pay for the trainer's expertise, but you have to do the work. You know, there's no substitute. And I think that, unfortunately, there are people who are going to hire a personal trainer, not listen to a goddamn thing he says or she says, and then kind of be stuck, you know. And it's unfortunate.
Who was the hardest client you ever had and why?
There's been some hard people. I think that as personal trainers, we like most of our people, but there's some people that we don't. And the people that you don't can ruin your day. You have to see them twice a week or 3 times a week. But anyways, there was this. I don't work with kids. I don't, you know. I don't like to work with anybody who's under 18. In fact, anybody who's under 18 cannot even sign up for Sculpt. So start with that. But there was one time that I had one of my friends, she was a client, but she's also a friend. She knew this girl who I think at the time was 14. And she had gone to the doctor, and you know, the doctor said she was pre-diabetic. And the mother was heartbroken, you know, my God, pre-diabetic at 14, the girl's overweight. What can we do? Andre, can you help? Can you help? Can you help? I'm like, okay, fine. I will help. It's hard enough for an adult to want to do, you know, to do things they don't want to do. To get a kid to do something they don't want to do is very painful. And it was. Every session was very, very painful. Because the kid just didn't want to do anything, right? Like, and I'm used to working with adults. I don't have the patience for kids, you know. But I remember close to the last session that we had, the one before the last. I was training her, and she was being difficult, not wanting to do anything, talking back, you know, like what a kid would do, and that's fine because, you know, that's what kids do, right? That's why I don't like working with them. You know, I have a friend of mine who works with kids, and God bless him. But this day she was, you know, talking back and being very, very smart, you know, and making comments. And I remember I turned to the mirror and I said, "Oh man, I look old today." And I think she said something like, "Yeah, you're old man," or something like that. And I was like, "Yeah, well, every time I work with you, I'm getting older because, you know, I have to put up with you." And I thought this was going to be a joke, right? Like she's going to laugh. started crying, like took it as horrible offense. And in perfect timing, like you couldn't have written this any other way, as she's like lying on the floor crying, and I'm like, what's going on? What's the matter? And she's like, oh, you said this horrible thing to me, and blah, blah, blah. Her father shows up in the window, right? And I tell him what happened. I was like, and his reaction to that, he was very nice to me. He's very polite. His reaction to that is like, oh, that's okay, honey. Let's stop here. I'm going to take you out for ice cream. And it just reinforced to me how much I don't want to work with kids. It was just like such an enabling thing to do. Like the kid's pre-diabetic, instead of saying to her, no, your trainer is right. You should be doing the work. You should be working hard, because being pre-diabetic at 14 is like this is not going to be a picnic for you. The dad was like, no, let me take you out for ice cream. That was the session before the last session. The last session was brief, and I think everybody there was like, yeah, all parties are ready to move on from that. That was the hardest client I had. It was a 14-year-old girl. It was a 14-year-old girl who broke me, who actually made me consider not doing this anymore, because I really, really, really hated that situation. So, yeah, beaten by a 14-year-old.
What was your biggest failure as a trainer?
Biggest failure as a trainer. I was still working for Bally's at the time. They're not around anymore, but they used to be a big chain back in the day called Bally Total Fitness. And I had this girl who was she had bought a membership, and with the membership she got some personal training sessions, and I was a trainer who got assigned, and then I sold her more personal training sessions, and she became my regular client. And she was a tall girl. She was a nice person, but I could tell that her weight was really, really, causing her to be in a shell. Because she had a great personality, right? But when I met her, she was pretty heavy, and I don't know. I felt bad, because okay, here's a person her life is directly being affected by how her weight was, how much weight she had. We worked together for about, a year, something like that. By the time we were done, we couldn't get a workout in without some guy coming up to her and asking her out. She became stunning. Gorgeous, right? And her personality came out, and she was a different person. She was a different person, right? Unrecognizable from somebody who was like a wallflower, wouldn't talk to anybody, wouldn't make eye contact, to gorgeous woman that, seriously, we're doing a squat exercise and people come and talk to us. They don't want to talk to me, they want to talk to her. And that transformed her body and her life. It transformed her life in such a positive way, right? That I was very proud of that. So you say, well, that doesn't sound like a failure at all. The failure was that I was not able to install the habits and the things that she needed to do on a regular basis, so that once the training was over, she didn't regress. And once we stopped training, she did regress, and she gained all the way back. And that really sucked, sucked for her and sucked for me because I know what she's capable of, and so. But I think that is a personal failure, because I think that a lot of the, like trainer dependency is a good thing for the trainer, right? Because they keep coming to you, but you also want your clients to, if when the time comes for them to go, you want them to be able to at least sustain what they accomplish with you, right? So I think that was a failure on my part, that I wasn't able to do that. And I gotta say, even today, even now, it's sometimes it's hard to get clients to understand that, like, there's gonna be a time that we're not gonna be working together anymore, and you have to be able to do these things by yourself. Otherwise, fitness is not. There's no end goal. This is a lifestyle. And if you don't live this lifestyle, it doesn't, you don't get to keep it, So, hey, I hope you enjoy my interrogation, answering questions. If you like more of these videos and we want us to produce more of these, then leave your comments below. We really like to know what topics or what questions you have for me, somebody who trained people for a very long time. And if you don't want to do that, then watch this video next, because I think you're going to like the questions I answered there.